And going beyond this concept of what love means, Jeannie, why don't you tell everybody what your love you was, and really your love made? They both had to do with the same thing, but a different twist.
Yeah, so my love you was all about you know, it's about loving money without any shame. And because I feel like what we do surrounding money is that we create an entire story that a lot of times has nothing to do with money. Money is neutral. We can kind of logically understand that. But can you love your money because it has no shame? So if it has no shame, then you don't need to regret your past decisions. You don't need to worry and panic over your future decisions. You can kind of maybe live a little bit more in the moment. And I find some people get really angry when I talk about, you can love money. You just don't have to like greed. There's a difference. You can be so grateful for the pennies in your wallet to stock shares that you just, purchased. It's wonderful. It's actually a very healthy thing. And that's part of, my I love you, because I wanted to show how I had to get out of this place of judgment of my own anger at a lot of things that aren't right in the world. So we have a lot of hunger, we have a lot of poverty, we have climate change that is affecting, people in ways that, we're not sure if they're going to recover in this part of the world. Um, and yet there are some people who will just be like, oh, I can still fly on my jet if I just don't want to get on the highway. And you're like, yeah, but what kind of damage does that do to the environment? Or do you really need to just fly 3 minutes to a destination? I mean, it's like, couldn't that have been a Zoom? Wouldn't that have been better? Or maybe you need to plan your day this way. And they're like, oh no, I need to do. So I wanted to get out of that space of judging. And I wanted to get into the space of like, where is the joy and where is the passion? Where is the fun? Where's the nurturing of the money? And so I did a little slideshow of like, me of where I know I was struggling in the past and like thoughts. And I used different archetypes to kind of describe my situation and how it's just a journey. And if it's a journey, then you don't have to judge it. You can just kind of let it be and go with it.
So many words that you said really got my attention, which at first was the words shame, judgment, and then very healthy and journey.
Hmm.
Those are the words that kind of stood out to me. And so much from a space of self-awareness, right? It's like this awareness. It's like you realize I don't want to be like this anymore. I don't want it. I want to change it. And the self-awareness. And I love that you brought up that money is neutral. We
Yeah.
put everything on it.
Hmm.
That is such a huge thing to recognize.
Yeah, it's a very powerful currency, money around the world. We mm, you know, uh, anybody who has money, we might assume is smarter and kinder and wiser than you are. Not necessarily. They might have inherited money and maybe they have people managing it for them, so they hopefully don't go broke. And other times, people worked like a dog to make that money and kept making it and kept making it and kept making it, and they know nothing else, but their relationships are terrible because that's just where they're at. Hmm. Okay. So I think that's like one of those things. Like one of the things I remember hearing about Donald Trump years ago, this is I'm talking before The Apprentice and all that, is that, everyone knew what his brand was, but there were certain people who absolutely were turned off by this guy. And I remember this one woman just said, absolutely no way would I ever want to work with this guy. I don't like him. And this is when he got the big bailout years ago. And I was like, huh, I don't really have an opinion one way or the other about that. Like I didn't. But now looking back, I realize that kind of judgment kept this woman feeling like if she didn't police the man or didn't police rich people, then she wasn't doing her job. But then it was like, well, what happens with your wealth? What are you doing with your money? can you still love what you make and still not be like, everyone else has to be just like me? And it's like, well, this is a big world. No one's going to be like you. No one's going to necessarily make money the way you do or feel about money the same way that you do. So how can you feel free so you're not trapped
Well, there's the
thinking about
word.
what you need to do? Now, I'm not saying that we shouldn't have laws, that we should not prosecute people who clearly violate the laws. Absolutely. But there is a difference between, following a course of action, following the law, if you will. And there's and also still going, and that's the job or the work of, say attorney general or something like that. And then I'm going to focus on this, my stuff.
Mhm.
I'm
The
going to focus on my community.
Right.
I'm going to focus on my passion.
Separation. So
Well,
it's not.
I said this earlier today on Facebook. It's knowing where you end and someone else begins. It's having that eternal and yet essential boundary. And what a lot of people do who have money is they put their money to things that they like or want or passionate about, and you may not even like anything they do. I choose not to get in the middle of that, unless, again, if it's something illegal, then yes, prosecution.
Right.
But other than that, you can spend your money on whatever you want.
Right.
Makes no difference because money is neutral. It's the story we put on it.
Yes.